We are very conscious that we need to support Ukraine to defend the Western values.
The war in Ukraine brought back to people's minds the threat.
Hello and welcome to Ukraine in Flames, a special project by Ukraine Media Center and NGO Euro-Atlantic Course. My name is Alexandra Sakhanovska, and today we discuss how the Russian invasion of Ukraine has impacted Romania, a country that shares a significant length of border with Ukraine and has accepted many of Ukrainian refugees. If you want to learn more, please subscribe to our channel to stay tuned. Romania has firmly stood with Ukraine since the very start of the invasion. In addition to being devoted to the values of democracy and rule of law, Romania also has some very practical reasons to be concerned. After all, the infamous battle for the Snake Island between Russia and Ukraine could very well be heard in Romania due to the proximity of the island. Moreover, Russian plans for the amphibious landing in Odessa region have also raised alarm in Bucharest due to the closeness of this Ukrainian region. Black Sea security, now ultimately destroyed by Russia, that has been threatening it ever since the annexation of Crimea in 2014, is also very important for Romania. Its neighbor Moldova also has a lot to be worried about, particularly considering the Russian-occupied territory of Transnistria, where an unrecognized puppet republic of Transnistria is a home to the largest ammunition depot in the Eastern Europe, and it is controlled by Russia. Romania has taken steps to support not just Ukraine, but Moldova as well. Let's hear more from Iulian Chifu, a state counselor of the Prime Minister for Foreign Affairs, Security and Strategic Affairs of Romania.
The war of aggression that Russia prompted to Ukraine for sure is affecting Romania because we are a direct neighbor. We have the longest border with Ukraine. On another point, we received, if not transited, an important number of refugees. Last time I checked some days ago, it was something like 3.5 million. For sure, the biggest part of them travels through Romania, but in any case, at the first moment, we needed to identify them, to host them, to transport them, to establish their identities at some points, and it was a tremendous work in that direction too. A part of them also stayed in Romania. They are working in Romania. We had more than 6.5 thousand Ukrainians here learning in Romania. We gave them tablets for learning according to Ukrainian and in Ukrainian language. We also have our schools here in Ukrainians who hosted them and actually for the children to go on with their education. It also involves us on military terms. As you know, there were hits that can be heard in Romania because they were nearby. I'm not talking only about Serpents Island or the Odessa region or in some other, I don't know, Zakarpattia or in Chernivtsi. Actually, every time when such a thing is happening, there is a reflection here in Romania. And for sure, we are attempted to support at all levels Ukraine, meaning humanitarian, meaning exports, imports of goods, including or first and foremost the grains. And at the same time, and also in some other directions for sure. And in that framework, this also implies an effort. And we are very conscious that we need to support Ukraine to defend the Western values because that's what is happening. And we support it for sure politically. The opening of the negotiations on the way to access to European Union, reforms, now reconstruction platform, Crimea platform, the political level. So I think that that's a plethora of issues where we are directly affected. And for sure, knowing the plans that were aired publicly by Russia, for sure, we are concerned on the perspective of becoming once again somewhere de facto neighbors. For sure, we are already, after the annexation of Crimea 2014, we are somehow a de facto neighbor with Russia, but the perspective for getting also the Odessa region is also having an added value to the influence that can happen in our part. What is the attitude of Romanian towards Russia today? Did it change after? Actually, we had the figures from, I think that we've done the study somewhere in 2009, 2010 after Georgia. In the case of Romania, we do have somehow a reserve towards Russia, because even the fact that we counted how many invasions of the Russians we had on our territory proves you how deeply this is rooted, and the relationship is rooted with Russia, not in the best sense. So the polls have shown, beginning with 2009 and afterwards, the fact that there is full openness related to the Russians, I mean the citizens. There's reluctance related to Russia, even in those terms after Georgia, and there's a full rejection of Russian policies of Putin's Russia, and it was constant all the times, including in the times when the president of the Russian Federation was Medvedev. So actually, we are on a ground where also the interdependence between Russia and Romania is very low. As you know, we have our own gas and oil, and there's no dependency of Romania. Sure, we do have some trade, but at a very low level, and usually raw materials, so oil and gas, when it works from the point of view of the costs, and in some moments where this can be suited for some of the projects where it's about a huge consumption of gas, for instance, in aluminium industry or in steel industry. But actually, because of this lack of dependence, because of the bilateral relations very low level, I couldn't say that something worse it's happening after the 24th of February, because it has already been happening before that. For sure, in Romania, we do have a share of the population, a teeny part, which can be rated between 3, 7, maybe 10%, but it's too much, but 3 to 7% maybe, who consider that we should have good relations with Russia, who consider that peace should be the environment, it's natural, it's normal, it's human if you want, which considered that maybe Russia is a good model also to be taken, and I'm considering specifically the issues related to conservatism, in some places, but also to some extreme positions in the society. This is marginal. Very few points of reflection in the political class or in the elite class, but still there. On one hand, it's healthy for the debate. On the other hand, it's not yet, in any case, affecting the evolution of Romania. Sure, in the information warfare, there is a lot that has been done. And there is a certain level of influence where we are concerned and we are reacting together with the NATO allies, together with our strategic partner, the United States, together with the EU countries. There's a concern for some time, 7 to 10 years ago, related to this information warfare and to the hybrid instruments that Russia uses, including targeting Romania. It's true that our concern is far more important with some other Western partners and allies in the EU, who seems less prepared to face this relationship with Russia, relating to the old, traditions, if you want, or cultural or elite relationship that they have. And they had with the Russian counterparts. It doesn't mean that we are forbidding literature or concerts or music or anything else that Russia as a country has brought to the world culture. We are always referring to this. There is a market for this type of cultural products, but it has nothing to do with ideology, with Soviet type ideology, with great power politics, with spheres of influence, and with Putin's Russia, which is completely rejected at the level of Romania, at all the levels actually, at the elite political level, at the level of the population, of the society, and mass media. at a large respect. There is for sure the understanding of the way that Transnistria politicized and it is involved via the war into the whole debate and provocations and pressure to the government and pro-European president in Chișinău. We are supporting them on all the layers and not from now, from some time. Actually, there was no government, Romanian government, who did not support. When we had a pro-Russian government and president, as it was the case for the socialist, communists and the Don, we worked directly with the people, with the local administration whenever we can in such a way that there is no rupture in the way that we are addressing. And we are addressing humanitarian level, support for the refugees, Ukrainian refugees, including transportation directly from the borders to inside Romania, because the capacity of Republic of Moldova to deal with the number of refugees is far less than the one that we can do. For sure, we supported them in this part, in the humanitarian part. We are supporting them in all the directions related to reforms and to their path towards European Union. It's very good that they have made this step together with Ukraine and with some notes with Georgia in their perspective, European perspective first, and in the capacity, after fulfilling some of the points that have been noted, to begin the negotiations for entering inside the European Union. We are also supporting them in those very complicated times on energy field. They have a very complicated mixture. They are dependent on Russia, on Gazprom. For what is worse, the western bank of the Dnistru, actually we have a pipeline which goes to Chișinău, which is owned by a Romanian company, originally a bilateral, now a Romanian company. And in any case, the problem is that the distribution there is done by the Moldova gas, which is 67% Gazprom. And actually, there's nobody to buy the Romanian gas or whatever is coming that way, Western gas. It's a complicated period. The level of the market for gas and energy is very high. It is complicated for EU countries concerning a country which has a more fragile economy and a lower capacity, way of living and capacity for and space to buy more expensive energy. It's far more complicated, and we are understanding all of this. We are trying to assist them in alternative sources, alternative fuels, not only on gas and energy. And we are on the path of doing that, including for this winter, but for sure, this is the hardest part, but for sure, what will happen on the mid to long term is far more important. It's the same in the case of Ukraine. And we are contemplating also the situation of a perspective of any type of military involvement, also together with our alliance in NATO, with the projects of the EU in defense capacity building, for sure, and also in fulfilling the army with non-military and non-lethal capabilities for the moment. It's also a big debate on the possibility of training their troops on our territory and so on and so forth. Our assessments and also present government's assessment, including Constitutional Court, allowed them, being neutral, also to develop their capacities to defend themselves. And that's very important, that the state of Republic of Moldova has the possibility to defend itself.
In order to better understand the challenges that Romania faces due to the Russian invasion of Ukraine, it is important to get some context, particularly the historical one. Our next guest, a program director at GlobalFocus from Romania, will tell us more about the public perception of Russia and Russian aggression in Romania, and will explain the factors that drive such perceptions.
Some pieces of context are truly necessary for a good understanding of Romania's position towards Russia. So the context is that the Romanian society and Romanian government, therefore, were never too eager to align themselves with Russia from a number of reasons, some of them historical, some of them cultural. Romanian society is, well, I'll put it diplomatically, not that much interested into what is happening with the ideas in Russia. So in this sense, historically speaking, even during communism era, Romanian society was rather opposing what happened in Russia than, I don't know, being happy with what happened there. So that being said, the modern history, the pre-communism history in Romania, found ourselves and Romanian government in a position which very much opposed Russia. However, how should I put it? The tradition in Romanian foreign policy is not one that puts Romania in a aggressive position, in a position where our international relation and foreign policies ideas are expressed openly every time and even bragging about them and so on and so forth. So that's why if you look historically into foreign policy documents here in Romania, you won't get too much information regarding Russia. So Russia per se, the name of a country, is rather marginal mention. You will understand that the specific documents refers to Russia and Russia's aggressive stance in Black Sea region and Russia's nefarious intentions in Romania, but Russia per se was not named. However, what happened after the invasion in Ukraine, what happened after Russia decided to invade Ukraine and start the war there, was a change in rhetoric. You will get to read about Russia in official documents as being aggressor. You will have Russia being named as an actor, as an aggressive actor and as an adversary to NATO, and as a state who is attacking liberal democracy values. So with the beginning of the war in Ukraine, the change was the immediate change was again into rhetoric. So after the February 24th, Romanian authorities were aligning themselves with the West in opposing Russia. As a parenthesis, I should mention that Romania was among the first who were supporting sanctions against Russia when Russia illegally annexed Crimea. So in a matter of actions, Romania was always in the Western camp. What changed with the war in Ukraine is mainly in rhetoric, in a sense that Russia is now named as an aggressor. If we are to discuss change or potential change in Romania's society, so regular population's stance towards Russia or attitudes towards Russia, I will again have to mention that statistically, most of the Romanian population had not a favorable opinion on Russia. So, and this is because, again, a number of reasons. Some of them are historical. We've lost some territories because of Russia. Some of them are cultural. During communism, part of our intelligentsia went to concentration camps and was imprisoned because their opinion and their alignment with the Western type of culture, not the Eastern type of it, so on and so forth. So the opinion of the population was not in favor of Russia, even before the war in Ukraine. However, of course, the war in Ukraine brought the subject into everybody's attention. Of course, the war in Ukraine determined even those who were not that much engaged in a dialogue, in a security dialogue, let's put it this way, forced them to acknowledge the threat, forced them to express openly their opinions on the subject. And having in mind that Romanian society is very risk aware in a sense. So most of the time we were even taught during history classes that we're an island surrounded by peoples, countries who are not like us. We are Latin and the others are Slavs. We don't have too much in common with them. Of course, we were not taught that they are our enemies, but this separation, us different than them, created a mentality that favored within the society this approach of a citadel under a siege, in a sense, you know. So the war in Ukraine brought back to people's minds the threat to our security, the threat to our borders, and therefore force, perhaps that's the word, the Romanian society in general to acknowledge the fact that Russia is a threat and the values that Russia is proposing are not values that we should follow. However, of course, as everywhere in the world, not just in Europe, there are parts of the population who are wrongly considering that Russia might be a support for their beliefs. And this is mostly in the part of the population expressing ultra-Orthodoxism and that sort of traditional backward values.
You've been watching this special project by Ukraine Media Center and NGO Euro-Atlantic Course, Ukraine in Flames. If you find our work useful, please like and share this video and don't forget to subscribe to our channel. In the description to this episode, you can find information on how you personally can help Ukraine in the face of Russian aggression. Remember that everything is going to be Ukraine.